best HDR TV surprisingly doesn't go to an LED LCD TV with its peak brightness and all the rest of it, because I think we're getting to the point now where peak brightness isn't everything, and people are now starting to understand that peak brightness isn't everything. It helps.
Yeah.
And if you've got good peak brightness, it really does help bring the dynamic range to an HDR image, but it's not the be all and end all, Jules, of what makes up a good HDR image, is it?
No, it's not. I mean, we touched on it at the beginning. Obviously there are alternative technologies. You can drive a higher peak brightness with a sort of something like a a QLED, but that comes with other associated flaws, so blooming and things like that. It's about high dynamic range. So if you're raising your black floor at the same time you're kicking out a hell of a lot of light, then you haven't really achieved your goal.
Yeah.
So there's no perfect technology, as you said right at the very beginning. So what we're seeing now is not just the Samsung QD-OLED based panels, but also the LG based panels are also upping their peak output too. We're seeing that in the Panasonic and the LGs, and of course remember that most content is graded to 1000 nits. So when you've got TVs, in the case of the Samsung, which isn't listed here, but the Samsung S95B, which I've measured at just over 1000 nits, and these other ones here which are getting near 1000 nits, it becomes, it's less of a moot point now for me. So we're talking about the Sony here as well. One of the things that we've wanted to see from OLED for a little while is more color volume. Because those LG produced panels have a white subpixel, and as they get brighter, the color volume falls away. It doesn't carry on with the brightness. But the Sony and the Samsung's not listed here, but the QD OLEDs have a little bit more color volume on them, and I think it is visible. It's there, but and it's really nice to see that. This Sony A95 is great.
There's other attributes as well with, so we're talking about the Sony A95K. It wins best HDR TV. And a lot of the points that you raised there are exactly why it's won the award this year. But some of the things that I want to pick up on, we're talking about WRGB from LG. It uses the white subpixel. QD OLED, it's a blue OLED, uses a QD filter for red and green. So RGB, you don't have the white subpixel in there. So of course you get the better color volume. But when you have the two technologies side by side and you're looking at color volume, with the vast majority of material that you watch, you're going to see not a lot of difference in terms of the actual color volume. I know a lot of people make a lot of fuss on the internet about this, and videos about, these TVs are amazing because of the color volume and so on. And then I think people see these TVs and they think, well, what's all the fuss about? Because it is quite subtle. The differences that we're talking about here, they are different. They are better, but they're not, it's not a huge night and day difference. It's a great step in the right direction with the technology. White point as well. And certainly how we see white point. When you put these two TV technologies together, they look very, very different. When it comes to white, WRGB looks cyan. QD OLED looks red. When you see them together, looking at a white, window or a full field white pattern. And again, it's the different technologies, different makeup of how it's making up that image as well. So there are differences. The reason the Sony won it is not necessarily its peak brightness, not necessarily its QD OLED panel, and not particularly its color volume. It's all those things mixed with Sony's vast knowledge of grading displays. These are the guys who create the stuff the professionals work on. They know what a good image is. They know what accuracy is, and their image processing is amongst the best out there. The motion is amongst the best out there. And when you put all of that together, it's an expensive TV, the A95K. There's no getting around that. But if you are a movie fan, you want the best. And again, we're talking about, subtle differences, but subtle differences in the right direction when it comes to movie playback. And if you want to see something that looks very, very close to a professional grading monitor that costs £30,000-40,000 from a TV that is still expensive at nearly £3,000, or £3,500 if you go for the 65-inch. It's a lot of money, but you are getting the performance here, and that's why it won HDR TV of the year, over and above what not people normally think. QLED is going to be the winner here. Not necessarily. Like Jules says, if you're talking about dynamic range, you have to have the black level, and if you're pushing brightness yet raising your black floor, that's not high dynamic range. So yeah, that's why the Sony wins that one. Well done, Sony.